next step in creating our gem will be to lay out our blocks that we prepared using the map. We'll start with sections number 1 and 2. So I have envelopes 1 and 2 selected, and this is going to be this quadrant of a gem. So I'll just bend this in half so it doesn't take so much space. Let's see, let's start from envelope number 1. Let's get all the blocks out. Okay. Let's see what we have. 1, 1, 3. 1, 2. 1, 1. Here, then what we have, 1, 4, 1, 5, and 1, 6. There we go. All right, let's start. So we'll have to build this bigger triangle first. Start from the number 1 and 2. Let's take pieces number 1 and 2 and put them together. So this foundation paper piecing is slightly different to the traditional one, when you usually have your foundation paper on the back of your fabric, and then you attach one piece of fabric at a time. Here we have all the blocks cut out with foundation paper attached. It's a freezer paper, so it sticks to the right side of the fabric. We have solid colors here, so it doesn't matter which one is front or back. But when we sew, we need to put the paper pieces inside. Alright, that's the main difference. So I see here my paper piece slightly got detached, so I'll just put a little bit of iron on it so it sticks back. Alright, so here we go, stuck. Now, because these pieces are very irregular, it's not very easy to figure out, to guess which direction we need to attach them. That's why we have these little notches all over the chart. And as long as they match, it means that we are working in the right direction. So I put one pin through the right notch. Then I take my other part, so it means it has to match with this one. So I need to put a pin through this. And well, here we have it. And now just need to make sure that we match everywhere. So the pin has to be absolutely perpendicular to the fabric. Otherwise, if we do it that way, it means it's shifted slightly. If we do it that way, it means the top shifted that way slightly. With these shapes, it's very important to make sure we are absolutely correct where we should be. Now, let's see. If I move this corner slightly, I need to check whether that piece of paper aligns. So I see it's not, so I need to move it slightly, just like that. And now I'm going to put one of these beauties. They're really handy. Just put it here. Now I'm pretty sure when I look here we will gonna match. Yeah, easier this way. So make sure the edges are nicely aligned. That's why it was very important to make sure our seam allowances are everywhere 1/4 inch wide. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, I can see that the tiny corner actually matches. So I'll just hold it tight and put another clip around here somewhere. And now we're ready. Oh yeah, I can take the pin out. Pin. Take the pin out. And let's do some sewing. The stitch length I prefer to set up to 1.5 millimeters, so it's very tiny seam stitch. I do it so I don't have to sew back and forth at the end, at the start and at the end of the stitching. Alright, I have a presser foot with which helps me to guide at 1/4 seam allowance, quarter inch seam allowance. Let's put needle down and start sewing. When you come to the edge, try to be slow so that narrow corner doesn't go sideways, because they like to do that. Basically, we were sewing without seeing what we're doing. So let's have a look if we did all right or not. After sewing our first 2 blocks 1/4 inch with the seam allowance 1/4 inch, we need to open our seam and press it. When we open the seam, we should be able to see that the paper pieces are not sewn into the seam and not too far apart from each other at all. They have to sit nicely next to each other, as if it's a one whole piece of paper. So now we're going to iron it. So we carefully open it and iron. You can see that this little tiny little piece of paper is gone unstuck. Just get it stuck again. Okay, here we are. Lovely. So our first piece is done. Let's continue with our next blocks. So we have done blocks 1 and 2, and now we need to sew all these 4 together. Right, so we have pieces 3 and 4. I put the pin through this notch from underneath. Okay, then number 4 has to go through this notch. Now I need to do it from this side. Okay. Put the seams together, seam allowances together, so it's all nice and smooth. Let's check if the corners match. Right. Okay, this one matches very nicely. And just do that. Let's look at this one. It is matching very good as well. So let's put this clip here at the bottom. Okay, we can remove the pin and let's sew it. Needle down. I like to have needle down all the time. Sew it carefully, no rushing. Okay, I like to chain piece all my blocks, so I don't take this off the machine. I'm just going to pin the next 2 blocks, number 5 and number 6, just the same way I did before. I prefer to have a bigger block on the bottom, so we'll start from block 6. Add the pin through the notch, and block 5, you see we have 1 notch here and 2 notches here, so we can't make it this way. Need to make sure that the notches match. Alright, there we go. Check if the corners match. And clip it. Now we can cut the other 2 blocks away and do some ironing. So when I open these 2 blocks, you can see that it's very nice and neatly matches together. Let's iron it towards the dark side. And here we need to cut off this little dog ear that is sticking out. This side is alright. Just cut this little thing off. Okay. Now we have to put these two units together, matching these double notches. So it's all nicely matching now. Here it doesn't matter which way we're gonna iron it. I think I'll iron it still to the darker blue color. Here's our seam allowances, all nice and neat. Next, we need to put these two blocks together with the rest. So this is a bigger piece and a bigger, longer seam. Need to pin it in at least two places. So we will have to match these two notches and this single notch here. There's some more notches here at the top, but I wouldn't bother about them. Alright, so put the bigger one at the bottom. Let's put pin through the bottom of two notches. And make sure that we match the other one. So this is what we have. And before clipping everything, we need to match the other one, this notch. Again, put the pin from the bottom and match this one. Try not to pierce the paper. Alright, so we have two pins. And if you look carefully, we don't want them to be looking in a different directions. We need to make sure they are absolutely perpendicular to our seam that we are going to be doing. Alright, so again, just like before, we need to see if our corners match. Here we are. Let's put the clip. Don't have to be at the very top, just somewhere. What I like about these clips, if once you put it on, the fabric doesn't move in any directions, it just stays nice together. Let's take one pin out. Let's check the other end. Again, make sure our corners match. There's a really tiny and very thin one on this end. You will have to be very careful with it. Alright, put the clip here. And I'm not really bothered about clipping anything in the middle. You can if you want to. There's no seam allowances in this piece on top, so it has to be, and there's actually no, well, there's one little seam allowance there. It shouldn't be too difficult to sew it all together. we're coming close to the very sharp shard. Just need to make sure we don't rush. Do it slowly so the fabric doesn't twist. Okay. So let's see what we've got. Let's see what we've got. So this is all our quite large block now. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Let's iron it. Because we have a lot of seams here, let's iron it seam allowance up. Cut this extra bulk that we don't need. There we go. So all these notches doesn't have to match absolutely perfectly. There we are. Block number 1 is done. Now we take envelope marked with number 2 and let's lay out this part of our gem. Just make sure we don't have anything left in our envelope. Let's have a look. 10. 9, 6. This is our tutu. This is our middle block here. 2, 1. There. 2, 3. 2, 4. It's quite dark, these blocks are. 2, 5. There we go. 2, 6. Over there. So these 3 will have to be made sewn together. These 2. Next, block number 8 and 7. Ooh, this way. Yep. Block number 7 and number 9 and 2, 11 there. Alright, so using same way as I showed before, we need to put all these blocks together. So we will be sewing block 1 and 2 first, then do blocks 3, 4, 5 and 6 together, and then attach them to these 2. Then we have a kind of a triangle. Then we need to put those 2 together and these 3 together and attach them on that side, and then attach all these 4 blocks into big one shard. I try to iron each seam allowance towards the dark. unless somewhere is too bulky, and then I just look which way is the best to iron. There's no really rule. These notches are very helpful. Sometimes you grab a piece that looks exactly like it might fit, but then when you look at the notches, they don't align. It means that you are trying to piece pieces that shouldn't be together. So I found correct piece now. It's 2/4 and 2/5. I was going to put them together. The longer units you have to work with, the more pins you will need to match the seams. So here I have 3 pins. And now we have last seam to do in this quarter of a gem. Have to match all these notches. So we don't have to match absolutely everything, just 3 or 4 notches to make sure we are joining the right side. Okay. Our corners are matching nicely. And as long as our seam allowances are together, we don't need to worry whether notches are matching inside, like in between the ends. It's good to check inside if the paper edges are aligned. Alright, let's do it. Moment of truth. Okay. Well, doesn't look too bad. Let's iron it. Let's see which way is the best to iron. I think do it that way. All right. So this is our quarter done. Quarter of our gem. So after you've done all 4 parts, you can put them all together. Like that. And now we need to sew them like that and like that. Let's do first these 2 blocks, then those 2, and then 1 big seam. So now we can cut the little dog ears. Just make the seam allowances. Make the seam allowances nicely straight. Now we have to put all these notches together here. Doesn't matter which unit goes at the bottom, which one goes on top, as long as notches match. Actually, I just had a second thought. It's best to start with the right angle corner, not from these edges. So all I need to do now is just turn the clips all the way around. There you go. Let's check. Now there's lots of seams here. Need to be very careful to go over these. Nice and slow. There you go. Let's do the other 2. matching. There you are. Now with these two halves we need to make sure that one seam allowance, one center seam allowance is ironed one way and the other one is ironed the other way, so they nest very nicely. So let's do this one up very carefully. Maybe from the back, so we see what's going on. There we are. Oh, interesting, but that's okay. Alright. Let's have a look at the front. Well, it looks perfect to me. Here looks like I lost one of the pieces, so I used the freezer paper I had and created the block. Just drew it from the map. Alright, there's one. And the other one. To make sure we have seam allowances two in the right way. So here we go down, here we need to go up. Again, looks like seam allowance gone wrong way, but it doesn't matter. Okay, let's have a look. Right, that looks pretty good as well. So now we have the very last seam to do, the longest one. It will require lots of pins. It won't take long. Moment of truth. Let's open this up and have a look. Well, I'm very pleased. I think before ironing, this is my favorite part. We are going to peel all the paper off and see what we have behind the paper. It's like magic. Paper peels really easy. And it doesn't leave any residue, which is great. And it also can be reused many times, unless you rip it just like I did. Ta-da! That's what we have. The papers will go back to the pattern. They can be reused.